are on Zoom and on January 11, 2023. Welcome everybody to a new year and at 8:30 in the morning. Let me go around getting everybody introduced. Why don't we start with the people on Zoom? Brianna, hello, good morning.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Brianna. I'm a land use planner for the city of Canby.
Okay, and Eric?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Eric Van Sant, traffic member.
Okay. Cliff?
Coleman, traffic member.
Council President Tracy Hensley, and I am your liaison for the next 2 years, unless you kick me out.
I'm getting the table first, and then I'll go around the end.
Gary Bryant, Traffic Safety Committee member.
All right.
Brian Hutchins managed the water plant, but also a resident.
Thank you, Brian, for coming.
Spencer Pollock, Canby Public Works.
AJ Miller, Canby Police Traffic Unit.
Jenny Driscoll, committee member.
And Bob Canberra, chairperson for the Traffic Safety Commission. And behind we have.
My name is Craig Carpenter, resident.
Rick Brown, resident.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Welcome, everybody. Okay. Review of the minutes for December 14th. Did everybody have a thanks very much, Jackie, for producing the minutes. Did everybody have a sense to review? Is there a motion for approval?
I'm moving that we approve the minutes for the December 14th, 2022 meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Okay. At this time, we will take up citizen input. And we've got several groups here. I suspect we've got to talk about Baker Street, but Dan guys aren't here today.
Can I mention something on Baker Street?
So before we go there, I thought since we have citizens already here, maybe we'll prioritize that and take up them first. Then we'll go back to the citizens who aren't here. You know, and citizens are always welcome to stay for the whole meeting if you want, but I want to prioritize your visit to us this morning. So I know Mr. Brown and Mr. Carpenter, you were here last time to talk about Lurch
Street.
Yeah.
And
so I thought we discussed it, as is our process. For the new people who are here, our procedures are is we listen to the citizens' concern, the first month, and then it gives us, and we don't really kind of problem solve the issues of that particular concern that first month, gives all our board, our commission members a chance to visit the site, to make a real thoughtful visit. And so let's talk about Lurch Street. I did visit it, drove it down and visited the area myself. We were going to put up a data thing. Unfortunately,
I got busy and didn't make it over there to get it set up in time, so my apologies on that.
Let's not we had an ice jar or anything.
There was a couple of other issues that popped up, so my apologies on that.
Well, it's such a hit and miss thing that you know, usually it's a before school, after school.
Yeah.
Just the fact that, like you guys had mentioned, it's an arterial to 13th, and I know you have problems with all of them, but since we live on Larch, that's what we're talking about. And it's about a 2.5 block section that people get in a hurry, just like everything else, and scream down to 13th. We've got kids and grandkids walking up and down the sidewalks, and I mean, if you make a quick hit, you're not going to see it. It's more probably in the summertime. Although I watched the resident come in the other day, almost four-wheel drift into the into the block from 13th. You must have either needed a potty break or something. But anyway, it's And I've noticed that walking around to a lot of these arterials, people use them as on-ramps to 13.
We are, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna ask, is your neighborhood, is it part of an HOA?
Nice.
Okay, because I have an idea.
Okay.
I'll just throw it out there if that's okay.
Yeah,
I don't know what you thought of the last time, about that raised crosswalk idea. And I was thinking maybe in your neighborhood, where appropriate, and it's great to have you here, Tracy. If they were to bring that before their HOA and discuss that, and if their neighborhood came up with some suggested locations, maybe for Spencer and Tracy, what would be the appropriate action to bring that to the city if you maybe wanted to do a public-private partnership where maybe your neighborhood association would shoulder all of it or some of it, or but it would need to get the blessing certainly of the city, the public works, and the police department.
But that's an interesting, a way to deal with it. Although when I was talking with the president of the HOA, they said that they made a few inquiries and we were told to come here and discuss it here. And it would be better for residents rather than the HOA showing up.
sure.
So that's what we're doing. I can certainly bring that to the HOA.
Yeah, people bring us problems and we want to help them find solutions.
Sure.
And because otherwise we just end up batting problems all around. And
We were even thinking of, I know we talked about putting a stop sign on 14th as you're turning right onto Large Street, because people just blow around that car, and it's not like they all four-wheel drift around. Don't get me wrong, but it's enough that, and I walk all the time, so I dodge cars a lot, and that might help stop. Although I know I've seen people not really obey stop signs lately, so especially in neighborhoods. So, but that might be a deterrent as well.
The answer to the procedure question Clint had, it would, if there is an HOA involved, it would be nice to have the blessing of the HOA, because that kind of indicates to us that the whole neighborhood is in an agreement. And then it would be the HOA coming here, they're gonna be kind of on the right track. And then this group would decide, okay, yeah, this looks like a good place for this not to happen. Then it would come to the city administrator or council.
Okay, how do I set that up with you guys to show up at the next meeting? And
Well, what-
But you're in the right place.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're in the right, let's
recommendation.
problem solve to that whole situation there. First of all, you're right, this is a really short street relative to, and so it's hard to get a sense of what the alternatives are to help a real short street like this that borders on.
The reason we're getting an awful lot more traffic on Large Street, like Craig said, it's usually twice a day, is that 13th and Ivy, it stops every time, every morning, all the way back to, what is it, 16th? And they'll turn off on 16th, turn left on Juniper, on the Locust, and I head down 14th and come that way to get
Cut through your.
to go towards Oregon City or that way.
Or the light, and I
There's a
didn't
lot of
know,
people
yeah.
doing that, and that's.
Yeah, if I use the school buses, I can see them trying to escape.
And now we've got 200 houses going in behind us.
Yes.
It's gonna get worse.
And so it's good that we talked about that, because, you can put temporary solutions in place. But one of the things that we've discussed, and is the light at 13th and Ivy. The timing of that light and the sequence of that light is a more systematic problem that we need to look at. And I know that they've talked about that light when they're supposed to be.
It is going to be replaced. I still haven't nailed down a year.
I've noticed that the light stays green longer on 13th now than it used to. Has that been changed?
So we're not in charge of program. That's Clackamas County that does the programming for that light. But I have received a few similar type of complaints
Not a complaint, I mean, it's just an observation.
Okay,
And it
well,
looks like
the ones I've been hearing are complaints because it's people that are trying to get through on Ivy.
It changed about 7 months ago when they did.
The paving. After they did the paving is when they came back out.
We got long to notice.
No, it definitely favors 13.
It will stay, it stays on for 13th and all the time. You have to pretty much come to a stop, sit there and wait.
Sure.
Even if there's nobody around, whereas even at like 99, if you're pulling up, the sensors realize it. So I don't know for sure how they go about their logic on programming those lights. Because I believe before that Ivy was the through,
sure.
And then 13th was. So I don't know why they changed it. I
like it, to be honest.
Okay.
With you, only because I'm coming out of Larch, trying to turn.
Right, but if those folks are trying to avoid the wait on Ivy, that's why they're in your neighborhood.
Yeah. And we're having complaints from 13th before because 13th is used as a through street for people coming from 99. They come up 13th to go out to Malala and out to the city or to other parts of township down that way.
And that's going to increase with the construction on 99. I get all that stuff.
So it is a need for there to be a really study of that light sequence to make sure that we get full maximum benefit of that. And I think it would be worthwhile for the commission to entertain a recommendation that light, the study on that light be expedited as much as possible. Because I think that's a systemic problem that's affecting, both ways. And it affects the neighborhoods, multiple neighborhoods all over the place. So I think that should be one of our recommendations, but I'll leave it up to people to think about, okay? So as we go down the list, that may be one to consider.
Isn't that where the crosswalk, the raised crosswalk is at March and 13th?
It's down one.
Down one.
Yeah, it's down. It's on Lupine Street. It's right at, well, you can see right at on 13th to the left a little bit. Yeah. And that, talking to some of the neighbors that live on 13th that back up to, on 13th Place that back up to 13th. And people hit that at full speed as well. They say they hear a lot of tools in the back of trucks bouncing. So although it's a great idea, short of putting a spike strip in there, you're not gonna slow people down. I understand, but it's not a bad idea.
Any other? One of the things we really need to do, and I don't want to delay this discussion too much, but we really do need some data.
Mm-hmm. And that's my fault.
No.
Well, and
it's not no fault here.
I had a chance to get it out the week of Christmas, but I didn't feel like the data that we would be collecting in the week from Christmas to New Year's would be representative of what was going on. So that's why I put it off. So I apologize.
It's all good. We're happy you got a voice. That's all.
So I'd like to arrange for this issue to come back next month. Not that we're not going to discuss it, but to really get an opportunity to get some data. Because I know from experience, not trying to dismiss any citizen, is perspective. How much traffic, if you're the person on the thing, any one car will look fast. And before we make drastic expenditure of city funds or anything like that, we need to be able to compare it. So we really need the data to compare it with other traffic data that we've gathered on other streets to really get a sense of how much of a major problem this is. Is that?
Yeah, I thought it question. So when we looked at this last time, a little bit further south there at the 14th onto Larch, there was a concern that we wouldn't be able to put a stop sign there because of
Short street.
the short
yeah.
street. What's the policy on speed humps?
You want to tackle that one or?
See, we only have them in really one area.
There is just the one area. I wasn't.
Maybe we need to establish it.
Yeah, because I was proponent of speed humps. Speed bumps stink, like the ones
Yes.
over in the Dutch Brother parking lot.
Yeah.
Those are really aggressive. Bumps
Well,
stink.
So-
speed bumps in parking lots are not our.
Yeah.
I know,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying that
But if you're-
style is all
if you were-
humps slow people down.
I know that one of the bigger things was on many of the major through streets, like Birch Street right now has the speed humps. That was controversial.
Very,
To a degree.
To a degree.
I mean, Bob and Dick did their due diligence
Yes.
and went to every neighbor. Brought us
They
a
did.
petition of people. There were some who don't want them, but
There were,
the majority of that street did want them. So one guy said, put it in front of my house. So
one of the other concerns with it is, depending on the street too, is for EMS, transporting patients over those. Because they have to slow down quite a bit, not to throw whoever is in the back out of the gurney.
Yeah, that's why I was curious when I said policy. I was curious because, you know, there's such a huge difference between a hump that you
Yes,
can go over that you notice that it's there, but you're not going to be flying over it. You're not having a major shift
Right.
in the passengers, but you're not going to go speeding over to 60 either, versus the bumps, which are super aggressive and would
Yeah.
throw somebody
Yeah.
out of there.
and so going back with either the speed humps or even the raised crosswalks that Clint was talking about, those, I don't know if we have any type of a policy on it. It's more so just been trying to get every neighbor on board, and then trying to figure out location wise for where it makes sense from a maintenance standpoint as well, to make sure that, you know, river or water runoff on the street isn't majorly effective.
Sure.
The ones on Birch are okay for the sweeper, but it does make it more difficult for the sweeper for going around sweeping leaves or anything else. So it's just, there's pros and cons to all of them.
Being in your neighborhood, I don't think they'll have as much of a leaf issue. It doesn't look like they have very many big trees.
Not at the moment, yeah.
yeah, but they may have, probably have planter trees that will
Yep.
someday come up.
Yeah.
Um,
Every house.
And so, and my question is, you know, the use of, we have limited street funds. You know, this is a short street, busy street. Is this the place that we experiment with crosswalk? And that's why I think numbers would help us kind of, you know, at least provide an explanation about whether this is, you know, has all the factors that would lead us to take action.
If
on
we
this
go
one.
further south, is there any other through street? Does it all look around?
So the ones that come out would be Larch, Lepine, and then if you jump over here,
Yeah, but people who are escaping off of Ivy, they're either gonna take 15th or 16th.
No, they're 16, 15 is not through.
yeah, it's
Oh,
not
it's
a
not
through street.
through.
No.
Oh.
A lot of those little streets back there are the ones that go east-west are like little short one block and then they go zigzag through.
Yep.
And I know why that is, you know, just to keep traffic down and slower.
Yeah.
But it's not as convenient for them as it is to come down 14th to work. So I think that's why
Yeah.
we're a little heavier
Yep.
than
Yeah.
normal, let's say.
Is signage a possibility, like residential zone, 25 or 20? What is
With
it?
a 4-letter word put in there somewhere.
SLOW.
It is really important.
You're already at 25, right?
Yes,
Supposedly.
Yeah.
Well, it's a neighborhood.
Yeah, you're right,
Yeah.
supposedly. Okay,
Not being argumentative, I'm just.
no. At that intersection of,
14th and March.
which one do you want?
right there, 14th. Yeah, I see, it's already marked appropriate.
Is there?
Well, yeah, on large, but not coming down from 14. there's a stop sign there on Larch.
Stop sign right here.
South.
Yeah, but not coming down from 14th.
Right.
And, you know, there's one on Locust there on 14th, and I would expect maybe they've got an issue as well, 14th place, but I'm not here for 14th.
I think
To
14th.
take care of my
Well,
The issue with that would be, I mean, I know it's residential, but if you wanted to turn that into a three-way, it's your, driveway where those are at. Typically for a neighborhood like this is at a T intersection, whoever is the stem of the T would be the stop.
And that's what they have on there.
And that's kind of getting back to kind of the national standard to where if you're driving in another city, when you come to a T intersection, you're just used to how that traffic flows.
we also have a problem on 14 at Lurch, right? Because that house right there, driveway would go right into the four-way. If you put a four-way stop, you'd be backing up into a four-way stop, right?
Right here at
A three-way stop or whatever stop.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking, speed hump at 14th place and Larch might be a potential thing to slow people down and going around the corner and speeding up through it.
Okay.
I mean, I don't live on 14th, but I've never seen the issue of traffic-wise number of cars on 14th that I've seen on Larch, as far as you're concerned about backing traffic up and blocking the driveway. I've never seen. Of course, I'm not.
Yeah, that kind of little zag to the little left and up through Larch is definitely when you look at the map, it's clearly the easiest path to just go around Ivy and get back up to 13.
And there's an additional 160 homes going just south.
Yeah, there's a big development coming in. Yes.
And they actually feed on the 16th.
So there won't be any additional through streets that are coming with that development.
18th.
Is it 18th? I'm sorry.
They're making 18th. Well, 16th is existing. 18th is the new one that's going in just to the south on Ivy.
Okay.
There are two roads that come into 16th, so they don't have to go on Ivy. So that's the.
There'll be probably feeder streets that will come down toward Lurch.
Yeah.
So the problem doesn't go away.
It's just going to get worse.
There's a possibility of that.
If I could add one more thing.
Yeah.
One of the things that helped us when we were investigating the speed humps is actually visiting some other communities just to get ideas. Because like in Beaverton, they've got speed humps, speed bumps, speed tables, speed cushions. But if you drive around neighborhoods, you're going to find neighborhoods that you see, well, they really thought this out very well. And I would, how often does your HOA meet?
Oh, maybe twice a year.
Okay.
Something like that. But I could always.
Usually stop signs they're not meant as a traffic calming device.
I don't understand that.
Well, in other words, you can't have stop signs planted everywhere because it'll just back up traffic everywhere. And so I would bring up the problem and the concern to your neighborhood meeting. I would identify where does the bus stop in here, and
There's no bus stop.
there's no bus. Is that all retired folks?
No, it's a mixed community.
Okay.
But it's within walking distance to the two elementary schools that were there. Or
There's an elementary.
Lee is an elementary. What's Ackerman?
Ackerman is a community
Center at this point.
The school district.
It used to be a middle school, but it's not.
Use it for other programming.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, they hold basketball tournaments there. And
Yes.
that really plugs up the neighborhood. I went there.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I would say exploring other neighborhoods and really trying to find out, what are the problems here? What are the possible solutions? And talk about it. We're happy to help as much as we can.
I'd ask you to come back next month.
Sure.
I know you guys have been very loyal coming the last two times.
Sure.
By then
I will have the traffic report attached.
and I have your email, so hopefully if Spencer can get it done in time, I will email you
Okay.
a short synopsis of of the data,
That's all we're asking.
so that you will have it prior to the meeting, so that you'll be prepared for a good discussion about that. Okay.
Absolutely.
All
We
right.
appreciate the, time to be heard, so. And we weren't impressed with the last meeting we were at. You guys seem to be on the ball, and we were impressed. We appreciate your work that you're doing, so don't think that we're just
Thank you.
hammer on anything.
No, not at all. We're trying our best with the limitations that we have.
No, I had a good feeling after that.
But we're not trying to dismiss problems, we're trying to combat them. So we promise to get the data by next month to you.
We'll be here.
All right, Mr. Hutch, you're here.
Sorry, can we be excused then?
Yes, you can. No, you can leave if you want.
Well, yeah, you know what?
Yes.
For the riveting conversation.
Thank you again, sorry. I'll talk to you.
Nice. Thank you for coming.
You bet.
Now that the state has allowed cities and counties to change the speed limits within their jurisdictions, it would be nice if South Ivy, now that we have South 18th going into Ivy, and I've seen plans for South 20th, we could slow down the cars that are supposed to be going 40, which are going 55, 60. Slow them down closer to the Goods Bridge, just at the city's city limit.
So I think if I could add, I think it was the police chief's request, he's wanted that to go 30 miles an hour all the way from 99 all the way to that.
That would be consistent, but right now it's 40 until Pudding River Chocolates.
So what you're saying is we now, as a city, have the authorization to make that recommendation, make that change.
On city streets.
So let me paraphrase your concern. So we got it, so that we can have a good conversation here. You're requesting that the speed limit on South Ivy be reduced to 30, 35,
30 at the city limit.
It should be down by about 20.
which is to the
To
city
the
limit.
bridge.
Okay, to the bridge. So is that, have I captured you? Okay.
It's 45 up
And the
to
bridge
that
is a
point.
good visual corridor too.
40, I think, but they're going 55, 60.
So if you lower it to 30, they'll actually go.
Then it'll
Bridge
go 40.
did 2 days already.
And the state's looking at
But the
putting
state
around
only
about
recently changed
So,
the jurisdiction.
yeah.
We had agreement.
Slow it down. I hate them, that they're slowing down.
Yeah, that's on this one.
Spencer, am I losing it, which is very possible at my age, that I thought we already had some discussion about that being converted to 30 to the bridge. Am I wrong, officer? I mean,
I haven't heard.
I don't remember for sure. I think that was back when Jerry was doing more of these. I know,
Right.
I do remember that we did reduce the speed from 45 to 40. Well, we did, Clackamas County did. I think it was right out to, I'm trying to figure out where the sign is now. But I believe that at 16th is where it transitions to 30. And at 40, I believe, is right before you start down the hill towards the bridge, kind of for better visual. I think it's somewhere right in here is where the speed sign is for if you're headed out of town, for where you can go back up to 40, I think. It's been a little bit since I've driven out there. But as it is right now, South Ivy is still technically a county street.
right.
And technically, city limits would stop here at 18th on the east side of Ivy.
Is that the city limit official, irrespective of Ivy's?
Yes.
You know, the
Yeah.
city limit is at 18
Yes.
before the river.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. So our jurisdiction is to 18th.
On the east side, on the west side, that is annexed in. So Ivy would kind of be this jotted up area. I'm trying to think. wonder if we have a map of it.
So
On this, my map on CAD here looks correct, but it shows Ivy being in the city, but I'm not.
Okay.
City being in gray is city, and it shows all of Ivy all the way down.
Okay.
I don't know how accurate this is.
No, I would go with that map because your map's probably more than mine. So, okay, so yeah, he's saying that all of Ivy would be inside the city limits until
pretty much 20th.
So when you say all of Ivy, does Ivy disappear and become Markham or something?
Highway
At the
170,
river?
or right, it looks like right at the bridge. I think it turns into Highway 170.
Yeah.
Good night.
So Ivy is all.
Yep.
To the bridge, it's
Bridge.
Ivy.
Yep.
After the bridge, it's Markham.
Yep.
Okay. So technically that road, now we're not supposed to be discussing it this month, but I want clarity so we can really understand what we're doing. That road, South Ivy is going to become a city road, from what I'm understanding, once it's complete.
Once I think it's once the sidewalk project is complete is when we officially take true ownership of it.
Okay.
Right now, the county's not really doing anything with it unless we ask them to, because they know that here in a year or so they're giving it to us.
Okay.
But yes.
So right now, they own jurisdiction of it as a county road, even
Yep.
though it's within the city limit.
Yes.
And then there will be an official.
Yes.
Yeah. And then there'll be an
Bob's
official,
favorite topic is county roads inside the city.
there'll be an official handover after the development, and Clinton has been waiting to share something.
Just gonna ask, would it be possible if Officer Miller, if you could ask Chief Crow if he's okay with that from 99 to the Goods Bridge, that ultimately becoming a 30-mile-an-hour?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see that you would have an issue with it, but I can double check with it.
Wouldn't hurt,
So-
on his toes.
So we won't make any decisions this month following our procedures, but
I don't know if we would make any decisions for sure next month either, but it is a good talking point and to have it all on everybody's radar.
but we could make a recommendation to you guys to
Right.
approach the county, and I'm just technically saying,
Yeah.
approach the county and say, it's coming, so why can't we move forward on this now? I mean, because when is the completion of this project supposed to be done? I mean, there's all kinds of delays, I agree, but what's the timetable for
Right
completion?
now, timetable is, I believe, end of summer 24.
24, so we're talking another year and a half. Okay, that's a long time.
Yes.
Okay,
But we can still have conversations with the county now about what we
Absolutely.
want. So could we request it be made 30 preemptively, since they're already kind of deferring to us and it's something we want to see happen?
we have precedent.
Yeah.
We have township, I believe, was reduced. That it used to be it is a county road from, isn't it? It used to be.
It used to be, but the city now has jurisdiction to Molino.
Okay, but we used to have, that strip was reduced by agreement down to 30, right? Or is it 35? Right by Timber Park.
Oh, on 13th.
Yeah,
13.
13. I'm not touching, I'm sorry, not township. 13th.
13th. We have jurisdiction from Sequoia to all the way.
Right, but it
To
used to be
99,
that,
but it
whole-
used
the
that
Timber
whole
Park,
strip.
we had agreement that they reduced that.
Once that subdivision went in,
Right.
the load or the speed was lower.
Okay, so we have precedent in the sense that things can be changed.
Would you entertain, would it be acceptable to make a motion?
Well, I think we should wait till next week. Okay, I mean,
To keep the procedures consistent, yes.
yeah, not to delay anything, but I mean, give everybody an opportunity to visit this area, to kind of get an idea, to really know what we're doing. And then we can come with, is that okay?
Good question for everyone. So the concern in reducing the speed now is just that we're seeing people who aren't observing the 40 mph and are speeding through. So we may as well just take it down to what we wanted, trying to encourage people to drive responsibly.
They'll still go at least 10 over.
Sure. If that way, then they're going the speed we'd hope they would go now.
Yeah.
And if you guys ever have extra resources, we can make some.
And I can recall conversation with Chief Troll that was his wish some time ago to take that down to 30 from 99 all the way to the bridge.
I mean,
I believe I've heard that same sentiment is that as we're moving out down Ivy's, that we're going lowering the speed of Ivy.
So you just showed your 40 sign changes to 40 at 18. So what is it going south? Does it turn to 55 at 18?
I think it does. I think it just,
yeah. I think after the bridge, it starts to really accelerate.
it's whatever, what do they call that?
It's interesting because that's where it gets
Basic
started.
rule,
Really
basic.
rule.
Basic rule,
Oh,
right?
initially, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I would like to put my citizen hat on for just a second.
Mhm.
Been working with Public Works with Jerry and Spencer on the corner of Fort, well, it's not really even a corner, 4th and Pine by the museum, that stop sign that's
Yes.
consistently, no matter what they do, I mean, we've got a flashing neon sign around it now. And I live right over there, so daily I see at least one person a day run that stop sign, just blow right through it like it doesn't exist. So I'm just thinking maybe a little enforcement over there would be good. If people start getting the word that you're gonna get ticketed, maybe that'll help. I don't know. I just thought maybe we could try that. Because I don't know what else they're gonna do short of,
Well, it's a major bottleneck because
Billboards outside.
the traffic light allows only 1 or 2 cars across.
Well, and I talked to Jerry about that too.
Train shows
That's
up.
another one of those.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we don't.
Let's take,
But anyway, I just wanted a little quick note to maybe put that plug in.
Yeah, with
Okay.
being on the inside corner, your eyes aren't pointed to the right at that point.
Right,
So
we
you
talked
go
about
to
that
the
sign.
side.
The stop at that sign. Did you get that up yet? I didn't notice.
not to distract from
So, sorry.
Ms. Hutchinson's
I'm sorry, I
concerns.
put that away. I
No,
apologize.
that's cool.
My bad.
That there's the city does have, Public Works does have a plan for that. But I don't know where it is in the CIP budget as far as dealing with that, cutting off that whole side street to make it more through. But okay. Hate to be kind of dictatorial, but we need to kind of marshal it. So people, please go and visit the area. We really would appreciate if you could come back next month. And so we could have this conversation and to talk about and make some recommendations to the city and to the county if that's necessary or if that's what the whole commission feels is appropriate. Does that answer your questions?
For that, yes.
Okay, oh, all right, there's something else.
South Ivy is 25 to Teakwood, and then it's 35 to Sequoia. And
13.
13.
Yeah, South.
Okay.
13.
Okay.
So a lot of people will get up to 35, 45 on the 35 section, and then at the 25 section, there's no driveways onto it. There's just intersections, and
So you're talking from Sequoia to Teakwood, right?
it's 35, yes.
Okay.
Then changes to 25. Why can't we homogenize that?
So it's my understanding that just east of Teakwood is a county road on 13. It's right, pretty much at Teakwood is where 13 changes to a city street.
Yeah. But with that new rule allowing cities to make their own speed limits within their jurisdictions.
So I think 13th is in the county on the east side of pretty much between Teakwood and Vine is going to be a county. I think the north side of 13th is city and the
Yes.
south side of it is county.
So that's one of those goofy ones where instead of having a split at an intersection and
So you
that
have
whole
to apply
section,
to the
so
county to change.
the south side of the road, so if you're heading towards Malino, that is county, and then anything on the north side would be city.
I guess the speed limit potentially could be changed if you're driving westbound because it's in the city, but I don't know how that would work with.
this was brought up, I'm trying to remember exactly how this worked, is we can't lower the speed until the south side of 13th.
It's the city as well. If you can't have two different speed limits going
Opposite direction, yeah.
Yeah, that on Knight's Bridge for a while.
Yeah.
I am a simple man, and this is just the most bizarre things I've ever heard in my life.
Now that
You
you
know,
can petition the county to be within.
I can talk with the county about
Yeah.
seeing what the hurdle will be on lowering 13th all the way.
so this is a second issue.
Yeah.
And this one is from where?
South 13th between Sequoia.
South 13th.
Between Sequoia and Teakwood.
Teakwood.
It's all farmland. for now.
On one side.
Yeah.
He said he's never gonna sell.
And that was, came up as a neat.
So.
Is that Timber Park?
Yeah, it goes right by the Timber Park.
Okay, this is the Timber Park hole, this,
Yes,
Yeah.
right, that
Timber Park
whole
section.
stretch.
Yeah.
And one of our past members that lived in Timber Park, he brought it up as a.
Yeah, and it was the compromise was to lower it down to
30.
30.
30.
It is 30.
And, okay,
So is it Sequoia that comes into 13th there, that continues down to the gun club?
Yes,
That's county.
yes.
Okay. The strawberry.
beyond Sequoia.
Okay.
Well, all the first road is ours, isn't it?
Just now.
We,
Yeah. Which is what Sequoia becomes when you cross 13.
yes.
That's ours going up.
We do own that, but it's not considered a public street. Yeah.
Right. Well, because the only destinations are the gun club and private homes,
Yes,
although that's a whole nother.
That's-
problem.
yeah.
That's a whole nother discussion, but,
Okay, so we have two
Yeah.
places that are under discussion about speed limits, okay? That we would like for people to go and visit and look at for possible recommendations, okay? One is on, like I said, 13th Street, Sequoia to Teakwood along that whole band, and the other one is from really 13th Street to the bridge.
on Ivy.
On Ivy. Okay,
And then can you jump over to the water plant? Go Fifth and Cedar.
you brought a list.
He did bring a list
okay, from where?
over by Eccles
Okay,
School.
zoom right in on the intersection there. Okay, you can't see it, well, you can kind of see it on the north side. So the sidewalk bumps out right across Fifth Avenue. So see the sidewalk bumps out there?
Mhm.
There's no parking signs, it's not painted, and cars park there.
Oh, cars are parking right there.
On the side, on the crosswalk,
Yeah, and
lovely.
there's, well, it's not on the crosswalk, but now
But right up
there's
to it.
now there's not a lane anymore. Because it's not marked no parking.
Right.
Is that for pickup around school times, or is it all the time?
There was a car parked there yesterday during the
Okay.
middle of school.
Yeah.
So is that an
That seems like an
intersection?
easy fix.
Yep.
So there are cars parked within an intersection.
Kind of.
I mean, you know,
Right
technically,
before it.
technically it's a T.
It's a T intersection and they would be parking across from it, but with the bump out there. So that strip there just needs to be no parking.
Yeah.
Do we need to have a motion for that, or is that just?
If you guys want a motion, or I can
You
just,
should probably memorialize
There's a
it,
red
Yeah.
paint out there.
even though we aren't totally going by your procedure file, waiting till next time, but this seems like an easy fix.
That one.
Okay, so what are we saying? Where is this?
Intersection of Fifth and Cedar.
Fifth?
North.
North.
Cedar.
Make a motion, we have.
Is that what, north,
That's north, Fifth and Cedar.
northwest?
Yes,
Northwest Fifth, North Cedar, and the painting would be on North Cedar.
yes.
Is that where?
Does the whole thing need to be painted or just within a certain distance?
It would
of the
be
Just the
crosswalk?
bump out.
Just the bump out
Yeah.
before that intersection.
Yeah, from just across the intersection.
Yep.
Is that by the post office?
No, it's by the school.
by
Well,
that
kind
close.
of, it's 3 blocks from the post office.
Okay,
And Cedar's
Cedar's
a nightmare anyway.
yeah, it's a night, that's what I wanted to make sure.
From Fifth to
It is a
Second, it's
nightmare
terrible.
down there. I mean, you know,
Oh, don't try to go there during school pickup time.
Oh, no,
okay, does that fit?
Yep.
With our policies about, I mean, you know,
Yeah, that one, that's an easy one for me to go and with that bump out, I'm not sure why we didn't put that in with that project a few years
Yeah.
ago now, looking at that.
so what is it? It would be painted yellow?
Yeah.
And then a no parking sign.
Yep, I can get the no parkings up for sure. And then the painting will just kind of be
Yeah.
one weather.
weather permits,
It's hard to get any painting done this time of year.
Sure.
yeah.
So I would entertain a motion,
Gary made one.
I would entertain a motion that Public Works consider placing a no parking sign and a yellow curbs painting on Fifth and Cedar Northwest. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is there somebody who makes that
Make a
motion?
motion, we have the Public Works do the painting and the signage at Northwest Cedar and Fifth.
Is there a second to the motion?
You seconded it, didn't you?
Oh, sure, I guess. I was probably nodding to something else, but I wholeheartedly agree.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those, any opposed?
Is Eric gonna vote on that?
Oh, Eric, do you have any, you haven't said anything. Are you following okay?
Yeah, no, everything's great. I'm copacetic. Everything's good.
Okay,
All in favor?
thank you. We will, do we send a letter to you or is the motion in the minutes good?
Motion's good enough.
Okay. All right. Mr. Hutchinson.
That's all I have. That's the end of my list.
You brought up some very good concerns. Thank you very much. And we welcome you to next month's meeting so that we can deal with the other two. All right, you're welcome to stay if you want. Okay, folks, I think we've taken care of all, Eber's concerns about Baker Street and 6th. They're not here.
I had an idea on that. I was thinking about this some more, wanted to share. You know, in certain areas, let's see, mostly in areas in the city, oftentimes where there's a bike lane, they will actually paint the pavement. It'll be like a green section. And because that's such a tricky area, I was gonna ask if it'd even be permissible if, you know, where you want to direct the pedestrians and bicyclists to go, if you painted the asphalt like the green color, like they do in bike lanes, and it would basically be directing folks subliminally, this is the safe place to walk or bike. And it would, that was just an idea I wanted to share.
I visited the area too, and I have one or two ideas that I'd like to throw out to you folks, not to dismiss your idea. One is, one of the fundamental problems with this is the trucks that are going down Baker. And you guys have done, Public Works has done a good job with putting those white pegs to stop them from going down that road. I was going to recommend you have some nice orange little triangles that you put on real select signs to draw people's eye attention to the sign. And we don't want to proliferate too much because, you know, then it becomes blind. But this is a particularly problem road with trucks going down that. You've already had some. I think it would be well put some orange flags on the two no trucking signs that are on up before that truck makes that turn. There are two big signs. You guys have done a good job, but the trucks are just ignoring them or don't see them because they're following their GPS. And
Do we have no truck signs before you get down to Sixth, like from Knight's Bridge to tell them
Yeah.
to not go down there?
Yeah, there's two right at the top of
Oh,
that
I see it
road,
there, okay.
right at the top.
Yeah,
of
that'd be a good one for that orange triangle.
And on the
Red
opposite
lights.
side,
Yeah.
on the opposite side, if they're coming from down Night Bridge, there's another no truck sign on the opposite side of that road. There are two. Public Works has done a great job. There's great signage there. I would just like to do the small thing because it's a big problem. When a truck gets down that far, we've got a really problem as opposed to, you know, here on some of these other arterial streets where we have no trucks, you know what I mean?
Yep.
You
Why
just
does
don't
the
have.
truck sign go on the left side and not on the right side as well? Just, is it the way that they turn that's more visible there?
I think that was for that location, like up at Cedar. I'm trying to remember what side I put it on that. I think I did the same thing on Cedar as well. So that's the next one that I know.
Yeah. Well, it's on both sides.
Yeah, we put it on both sides there.
Yeah, it just being redundant, but also effective. The signs are there. I'm just trying. I don't know if it's going to have any impact when they're looking at their GPS.
GPS and it tells them to go.
Yeah, yeah, you know,
going to go.
But I
GPS doesn't tell you that Knight's Bridge is away from you.
Yeah.
But I want to give as much attention to that sign as possible to avoid a truck going down there, you know, and having this at that.
Hey, Bob,
Yeah. Hi.
can I make a motion that I would like to see the orange flag on that? That would make a predominant, you know, even for a couple months, if they would be out there, I think it would help greatly to have the orange flags rather than just a small pyramid.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I don't know how effective it is, but I do feel like my motto is to do my best. And so that's
Well, I think with the flags and possibly a little patrolling with PD to, you know, maybe do a traffic stop and educate a driver or two, that could get the word out among other drivers that, yeah, pay attention to the flags.
Yeah, it's really tough because the amount of traffic on that street, we've already shown with our traffic data that it just doesn't have a great deal of numbers.
So we're back to the county. We need to drop this back in their pocket. I did the run. I think this is an issue we brought up. Dan Ebert and I were gonna go to the county. I did the mileage check from 551 up through Barlow Road, Knight's Bridge. Excuse me. I called Bob because I witnessed a tanker truck loaded. I don't know if he's loaded. He's licensed for 110,000 pounds. The weight limit on that bridge is 47,000 pounds. So this guy, and I called the company, the KAG, I called them. Of course, I didn't have the truck number, which was bad on my part, but I had other things to do. But the truck went right down Knight's Bridge, went to Holly and turned left. Now, what does a truck and trailer tanker full of gas need to do on Holly Street and come up to territory? I talked to Ed Monacoco. He does not have a big supply tank. He has 5,000 gallons. This guy has probably 12,000 if he was loaded. That's the if part. I don't know what he had on, but I do know he's licensed for 110,000 pounds. He crossed the Knight's Bridge. And I followed him up to Holly where I had to turn right to my event. And but getting back to the county, we dropped this back into their pocket. The signage from 551 to the first sign that has anything to do with a weight restriction is 1.5 miles down the road. It's just a little bitty sign. These guys are not seeing that. And you can't always say, oh, the dumb truck driver this, dumb truck driver that, he GPS this, that. No, the county is the one that needs to take a bigger stand on this. They need to get people directed on Barlow, the commercial vehicles.
Now, I know you and I was going to meet with you and
Yes,
Dan,
I wanted to
and we're going to do that to what they call, look at all of the locations of the present weight signage to Knight's Bridge and see if there are better locations that those signs should be placed on. And maybe they need some flags too, so that would draw attention to that. You know, because the present weight signage, the ones that I saw are right at the intersection of Knightsbridge, Art, and what's that?
Knightsbridge.
No, boy, my mind.
Barlow and
Barlow and Knightsbridge or Art. And there's one there, and there's one about maybe 10 or 15 miles, about a mile up further on that road. But the road should be, the signage should be way up, more by the intersection, the lighted intersection, so that the road, you know, people see it and the trucker has time to process that, you know?
The sign here, but it's just beyond the roads that he needs to take.
Yeah.
To go to make the detour, to go to Barlow Road.
Okay.
And you have a county road, you have commercial vehicles that probably never been on that road before. And like you said, they got GPS, they got a map or whatever, but, and when I saw the guy with the tanker and he had placards for flammable, I thought, man, this could be ugly. He's in a residential area with flammable liquids. Come on, folks.
So
County.
we'll continue to, you and I and Dan need to get together to map out where the signs are and make recommendations as far as where that sign's going.
I know we put it off to go to the holidays.
Right.
They've all been wrapped up in so much stuff for the holidays.
So Eric made a motion for recommending that the orange flags, was there a second?
I'll second it, yeah.
Gary seconds it. Eric, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. There's one other suggestion for Baker. Wanted a concern, I looked at that, you know, Dan had a concern about cars turning rapidly and maybe endangering kids. But there already is, not on Baker and Fifth, there is a sign there, and there is a, you know, white marker for on the roadway for that. But on 6th, I believe, 6th and Baker come together, right?
Yes.
And I believe that's the road he was really talking about.
Yes. Yeah, so his concern was right here on this corner at 6th and Baker.
And there is no stop sign on Baker. And there is no, you know, the white strip there that you put on the ground to mark the lane. And people are just bombing that lane because there's no real demarcation. So I would ask, maybe we can bring it up again next month on this one, for you to look at that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, would it be appropriate? Because there's one street comes together and one street comes together, they seem to disappear, right? Technically. Because that other side street isn't really part of Baker. It shouldn't be an official road, right?
It is a one-way through.
Okay.
On Baker heading south.
Okay.
So there's no traffic other than emergency vehicles that are coming.
So technically 6 stops at Baker.
That would be the end of it, yes.
So technically there should be a stop sign there. Well, I mean, you know, I mean, it
kind of does.
If it stops there and there's a through street, there's a T.
There's a through street that is a one-way that's not going anywhere.
Agreed.
So I don't know if a stop there would be appropriate or not. Trying to think on where another similar intersection would be where I think the only other one I could think of off the top of my head would be 12th and Locust over on the north side, is how both of them, 12th kind of stops and Locust kind of stops, where it's just this great big wide area where people are turning, which is very similar to what this one is. The only difference being is that it doesn't have, you know, a one-way access for.
Right. Well, I'm just saying, you know, if people are bombing, that at least putting the white strip on the ground that
Or stake spawn to Baker.
on Baker, that would kind of make them know that they're supposed to stay on their side of the street and not just make a tight curve. See, that's the concern, right? They're coming down Baker and they're whipping onto 6th and they cut the curve.
Cut it going that way.
You know, they cut the curve real sharp, right?
There's a big tree right there.
That tree's been removed.
But if there was a line.
But if there was the lane marker, I don't know. I'm fantasizing that people are going to follow the law, that they would make a wide turn and stay on the opposite side of the street, you know? Because I don't think that he was concerned about the cars coming up 6th and turning onto Baker. It was Baker
Going and turning.
So at least what we can do is put, if not a stop sign, at least
Can we put lines on the street without stop signs?
As far as if you're wanting a stop bar, then no. I mean, a stop bar is an addition to a stop sign.
Okay.
Trying to think of what else we
Could I make a recommendation?
Sure.
How about on this, it's on my left side though, but right there in the bark dust, in that shaded area on the corner, that inside corner, how about a children playing or caution blind corner, instead of a stop sign, an advisory sign put there?
Put a sentence that Locust.
Well,
so you're talking like maybe on this street light right here, Eric, of putting a caution.
Actually across the street.
On this side.
Yeah, on that side, showing that that's the blind corner, not to cut it.
Typically, all of your warning signs would be on whatever side.
Correct.
Would be on.
and it would probably be better for them to see it before they make that turn than before they're in the process of, you know, speeding through, and they're not going to look at a sign per se on the
and I wonder, without that tree,
the sign's an idea.
Without that tree, it's not really a blind corner. You can see, and that's probably part of the reason people are looking around through there, is like, oh, I can see it's clear, and they're not really remembering they're in a residential.
Would that be appropriate to put a sign?
Yeah, even on the light would be fine.
I'm trying to remember what sign that is off the top of my head on if those actually are. Yeah, I think we can look into something about.
Why don't we put it on the agenda for next month? About that sign, Eric, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Find out what our options are.
You can see if that's a sign.
Yeah.
And then we'll revisit that issue then. How's that?
Yep.
And then we have a motion for the little triangles.
Yep.
And that was at Cedar and Ash?
Well, it's not like you could have a sign indicating cross traffic does not stop, because there isn't really
there's not a cross traffic through there, correct?
It's just that they're cutting quick.
Because I have an issue that a citizen brought up to me about 9th and Holly, going east on 9th, you come up to Holly. And considering you said, I call it the limit line. The limit line is that line,
the stop
sign, stop bar, you call it, okay, stop bars. When you reach that stop bar, in front of your car is on stop bar, okay. but your seating position in an automobile is anywhere from 4 to 5 feet back from that. So the visibility, and at that intersection that I just mentioned at Holly and 9th, there's a hedge, comes right up to the sidewalk. It's a arborvitae barrier. It goes along the sidewalk. And basically, you are halfway out into the intersection before you can see any cars coming from the north, coming up Holly.
So it'd be this,
Yeah,
this stop bar, and then once you get up here.
yeah, that hedge right there really is a blind spot. And like I said, I had to, when I find out I'm on a committee like this, Gary, I want you to see this. Somebody else, because I really is it back up the picture of it. Yeah, that limit line or stop bar is at a point where it's
Not blocking the sidewalk, yeah.
Yeah, and then you realize that your position in your vehicle is back from that still. You do lose complete visibility. I was there on my bicycle. You can't see where any oncoming traffic who never runs 25 through there. I mean, they're running 40, and it's, you know, Holly Street's pretty busy. So anyway,
And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but a stop sign and a stop bar is you come to a complete stop and then proceed forward with caution.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you're supposed to come to a complete stop before if there's a stop sign and a stop bar, and the stop bar is when you have to stop behind it.
Yeah.
If there's just the sign, you gotta stop behind the sign.
Yeah.
But they have to stop and then they can inch out and just check to make sure that it's clear.
This person has a big Suburban, they were inching out, and like you said, cars are coming through there in excess of 25. And it's one of those situations where we hear a lot where I almost got hit or was concerned about that. But I know there's a policy though, a certain blind spot, a certain distance from.
And that hedge has been a point of contention for many years.
Oh, really? Okay.
And it does meet the technical requirements for site distances.
Our code enforcement's also looked at that as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
If we switch back to 6th and Baker real quick. So since Baker is a through street, can we put a stop sign at the end of 6th, which would then have a stop bar and a stop sign that you visually see from Baker, and you have to go around to turn from Baker onto 6th?
That's what I'm gonna have to look into for sure.
Because you can't take that corner tight if you have to go around the stop bar.
Or those oversized road bumps.
Those actually are you talking those, the big white type deals that?
They're down, so
Yeah.
hit under
Those are actually no longer supposed to be put in for bicycle or motorcycle safety. They cause more of a hazard for them than they do for anybody else.
I'm gonna move us along because we've lost one member already. So I don't want to lose another one, then we have to adjourn. Old business. CIP priorities, does anybody, it's a rolling part of the old business agenda. Did anybody look at the CIP, city CIP budget? Have any comments regarding the priority list? If not, just please look at it this coming month so that we can have a discussion if you have any concerns.
And if it helps, I will work on getting it sent over to Bob and then he can distribute it to everybody.
Sure.
Yeah. Make
it a little easier if they're emailing it to them to where they have to read the email for it.
Yeah, it's on page 36 of the budget. 36 or 37 of the budget. And then Redflex, we're still working on that. And under new business, location of truck signs, we need to, Dan and Gary and I need to meet and get that scheduled.
Well, that's what I was hoping to accomplish, is find out how you get an audience with a county person that has some like input like we had last month. I need to be educated here, I need guidance.
You know, I don't know what the proper channel for that one is. I will have to find out and get back to you.
Did you say you deal with the county?
We do deal with the county, but usually I'm just calling one of their road guys and complaining about it. I don't know what the correct chain of command would be from
That's what's
a
kind of-
formal traffic, because I think it would bear more weight if it was coming from you guys.
That's, because I'm gonna write the Bob, kind of throw it back out at you to help us. The three of us are supposed to get together and arrange somehow to deal with the county on this and open their eyes to the fact that there's signage that really needs to be put in place.
Yeah, I know some people at the county, but you know, I mean, I'm having to be careful because when we make a recommendation from this committee, we are an extension of the city. So I have to go through the city instead of my, you know, call the county and say, I'm gonna meet with.
Exactly.
Yeah, whatever, and, you know, because I mean, that's over kind of, I need to have the blessing before we can do that kind of outreach people.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that we don't get our ducks in a row and our plan in place.
Yeah,
And then we can kind of proceed from there.
it's just setting the pace too for the bridge construction, and
Yes,
it's gonna be, that's just a nightmare. None of us look forward to.
well, that's a whole,
Oh, I know.
but that's been delayed at least a year, so. we'll-
Yes.
Okay,
Goodness.
When you guys look at the bridge weight limits, when I was on Barlow heading north towards Night Bridge a while back, I took a picture of it, couldn't find it easily, but there was like a bush or something blocking it too for a good distance. So that might be worth just double checking if that's still an issue.
city staff reports. Sorry if I'm going to moving this along because that's still half of our agenda. Police, sir.
Looks like in December, we had 212 citations, 5 DUIRS, 12 traffic crimes. Only 7 traffic complaints. That seems pretty low from what we usually have. There weren't a ton of injury crashes, which is good. Very little hit and runs this month or last month. As far as what I've been focusing on the last couple weeks, I went to the traffic safety meeting with ODOT and Candy Excavating for the construction of 990 yesterday. Their main concerns were Burke Parkway, the traffic turning left onto Burke Parkway when they're not supposed to for 99. They said every hour there's several cars that are turning there. Another one of their concerns was Locust and 99 because they had to block off the B lane if you're going eastbound on Southeast First. They had flaggers that were stopping traffic on 99 to get people turning from Locust on back onto 99. They were actually stopping traffic and people were trying to stop traffic, but people were just flying by the flaggers. And so I've been focusing on that for the last couple weeks, trying to help them out and keep them safe out on the highway. Thank you. So
That's going to be a mess down there.
it's going to be a mess for a long time.
Yes.
Has that left turn from 99 to Bird Parkway issue changed at all? So I noticed, I witnessed those people turning left there when they're not supposed to. But I also noticed yesterday that they kind of widened and they've closed a lane on each side now. Where before it was only the middle lane that was closed, and so people were going from the left southbound lane. They were just turning left around the construction stuff, and now that those lanes are closed, it's only the far
Now
right.
they're crossing even more lanes. So they have to cross 4 lanes in order to turn.
Oh, I was hoping that would kind of cure it a little bit, but it made it worse. Okay.
And a lot of people are actually either turning into AutoZone to go through Walgreens and then out to the light, or they're just turning right into Space Age to do a U-turn in Space Age.
That's what I did yesterday.
Well, I'll be honest, I did the AutoZone trick the first time because I didn't realize it. I was like, oh geez, I don't want to cross the bridge. But now that I know that you can't do that, I go back behind by the high school. So
I actually have visits at Walgreens.
Yeah, I visited Walgreens and came around because I couldn't
Spend
figure
some
out.
money at Walgreens if you're
I
gonna use
presented with this
it.
and I said, you need to figure out how to turn left to get to the
It is.
UPS.
Are they gonna have to have that area closed for an extended amount of time? Or
So
can they
they're,
prioritize
Burton
that?
Parkway is going to be supposed to be open on the 17th.
Okay, that's another week.
So right now they have the traffic light extended, if you've noticed, for northbound, southbound, coming off of Burton Parkway. So the light is actually longer now for a green light. But they're going to change that on the 17th and open up the
What
intersection.
are they actually doing? I see them taking out the
The whole middle of the road.
they're taking out the whole middle of the road and they're putting something in, so I don't know.
So they're putting dry wells. So they actually are digging like 25 feet down And so there are these big metal apparatus things that are sitting in there. It's a dry well. They're putting multiple of them in. They have, I saw their calendar, they have dry wells that they're putting all down 99, basically all month.
Yeah, this is the first go around of it, and I don't remember off the top of my head the exact number of how many they're putting in, but it's probably close to 20 of them that are going in.
So those are dry well all the way down.
So it's a storm, it's for the stormwater. New storm infrastructure.
And so ODOT is also working with businesses up and down 99 because when they close the highway, it's going to affect a lot of the businesses, but they're doing the best they can to only block, like for TNT Market, they're going to have to do something in front of they're only going to try to block one driveway at a time and do like one piece at a time. So that way they can actually run their business.
Are they actually going to do something at Ivy's intersection about left turns off those two markets?
I haven't heard about that.
You know, thank you for bringing that up. I will circle back with Scott and see if he has contacted ODOT about that, like we requested.
I mean, you know,
That'll be on my to-do list.
It boggles my mind what they demand. They want us
And
to
then the
die
last-
before they put a change. Okay.
The last thing that I had before I have to go to my briefing was there's a lot of potholes coming up in town, and they were talking about whether or not they want to fix them, because ODOT's pretty much saying, well, if the whole road's going to get fixed anyway, then why bother doing the potholes? But their K&E's trying to work with them and budgets and whatnot to try to get potholes fixed in the interim while they're working on other parts of the road.
I appreciate
So
that.
they're working on that.
Thank you. Because I mean, there are some significant potholes on
There's a
99.
canyon on 99 and Pine.
The size of the trucks that are using it. Bless your heart. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, but thank you also for the accident data. I am, as anytime you guys want to, you can look at that map up there. Each red dot represents a traffic crash. I wasn't able to put in all of this month. I will finish up. I've got about 4 more crashes to put out there. But as close as possible, you can get a sense as far as where the accidents are occurring. And where there are multiple accidents, you'll see a number and it goes upwards to kind of give us a center. That's another discussion at some point. But so thank you very much. Yeah, appreciate this. I'm trying to
Take care.
provide a snapshot so that you can really see where the flow of traffic accidents occur. And hopefully we'll convert this data to a database so that an Excel spreadsheet, which will give us a better sense of, you know.
Can we get these lists in a PDF or an Excel file?
You got
I'm still working on that map system.
but okay. Planning. Hello there.
Hello. Probably the only big project I want to mention is that backstop was approved on Monday. So that will be underway soon, which is exciting. Local business expanding.
What did you say?
Backstop,
Backstop?
an ergonomic kitchen.
And we had a change in our planning commission makeup. Our former chair, Jason Padden, is now on city council, replacing Councilor Spoon. So now we have Michael Hutchinson, who was the vice chair, is the new chair. No?
No, Matt Ellison is chair and Dan Ewert is vice.
Thank you.
You said that again, please, sorry.
Dan Ewert is the vice chair,
Yeah.
and Matt Ellison is the new chair.
Michael was just, excuse me, Commissioner Hutchinson was just running it for that one meeting.
Right, yeah.
Thank you.
He was the previous vice chair. He acted as chair to get through that meeting.
Thank you.
He also acted like he really didn't like that role, so he was happy to let it go.
I did get that impression. Thank you for correcting me on that one.
And is the break approval the downtown old library? Oh, no, there's somebody else.
It's the newspaper building.
Next door to backstop, they're going over and up.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
Exactly.
Any other things, Brianna, that you want to tell us about?
Nope, nothing big. We're moving right along with a lot of the projects you've already heard about. Things are just still in the pipeline. Nothing too large.
Is there any progress about the starting up the traffic the systems review.
Yes, that is moving right along, and you are on our list for when those, you know, study groups are formed. So you'll be probably contacted directly to be part of those.
And
so, go ahead.
Real question is, you know, there was a concern about the roadways being in some neighborhoods not wide enough for the fire department to be able to utilize their whole long ladder.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be part of that study for the existing neighborhoods. But I just wanted to touch bases with the planning department. If in new developments and new things, are we making it a standard that the roadway is wide enough? We're expecting wide enough roadways so that there is at least 28, am I right, 20?
26?
There needs to be, the roadway needs to be big enough so that minus the parked cars, the fire department can utilize their big trucks.
They need 16 foot.
16-foot clearance minus parked cars. And I just want to check in, and you don't, maybe you got to do some research on this. Is every new development being held to that standard so that there is a wide enough roadway?
And realistically, we need parking on both sides. And
well, whether they put parking on both sides or not, if they don't have parking on both, make sure there's 16 feet of open roadway so the fire department can service all these houses.
The fire department minimum when they were working in our neighborhood is 21 for them to get the big truck and things.
Well, we need sure
they might have to put a red curb on South 16th for the Marks Place development.
I know fire comments and makes notes on all of the new construction plans and anywhere where they do not have adequate space for that we even put up the no parking or it's not approved. So in all of the new projects, the fire department is maintaining that they have space. So as far as designing the road widths in the traffic system plan, I think it would just depend on, for any new developments, on if they wanted parking on both sides. But the road widths for fire is already set. If that kind of helps answer your question, Rob.
It does. It does not give me the solidified answer I really want.
Yes.
But I understand what you're saying.
Jim Walker reviews those.
Yeah. I want clearance.
Yep.
Built in, wide, nice big road, so that we don't have a problem with a fire truck not being able to service a house.
Yeah.
And because if you build it, they will park there.
Yeah. And if you build it, they have to park there because they've got more cars. They got space.
They don't have to, but they do.
They will.
You know, and so then it creates a problem. And we should be solving problems before they occur instead of always having to paint red.
Yeah, I'm just worried about Sandy getting like Portland where there's cars on both sides of the street because housing is expensive and then it's a one lane down through everything and there's just nowhere to park ever, but people still have cars.
I do not want Portland to be our standard.
We're on the way, man. We need to do more in the planning side.
So I'm sorry, we went off on topic. I'm sorry, Brianna.
That's okay.
Any other?
Yeah, Spencer basically nailed it on the head. I'll have to ask Dawn, you know, more in depth about if we're going to be looking at cross sections because those are kind of baked in. And that's really the only way to widen all roads to accommodate fire. But right now, and we are, you know, we're building this relationship constantly, but we invite fire to all of our, you know, pre-application conferences. We route them all of our projects. So we, you know, we actively solicit input from them all the time. And we always take those into very serious consideration and pass those on to the developers. But if it's not a standard and more of a best practice, we kind of have to work with them sometimes on that. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Public Works.
We are getting ready to really start hammering down on Ivy for the power undergrounding. We set a new power vault yesterday at Bethany Church and working our way up through the township intersection. The guys are out there today, pothole utilities. Once we get past township, our traffic control will be a little bit easier to maintain. That's kind of a busy intersection with multiple lanes. So for the next probably 2 weeks, kind of expect to see us out there.
It's going to be a lighted township.
With this sidewalk project in a couple of years, yes. But eventually.
It's been talked about for how long now?
Longer than I've been here. So that's kind of Public Works' main focus for probably the next month. Other than that,
I question.
Yeah,
I see Locust is being worked on really well. Is there a timetable?
they are having some issues with kind of how fast they're digging just because of ground conditions.
Yes. Yeah, I can well imagine.
It's kind of a tricky situation for what they're running into in the ground. They're not close to meeting the schedule of the project due to what they've got going on. I have a meeting next week to discuss kind of the new timeline of what we're realistically expecting to see out of there. But yeah, they still have a fair amount of work to go. So unfortunately it's not going to be real soon.
Well, it's better than doing a good job than to rush. So,
that's one of the other things that's holding it up is we got a pretty good contractor for the foreman out there that he's very particular on how he wants stuff done. Actually, I've got 2 phone calls from him just when we've been in here. So
that's good. So I see them working really hard, and and I applaud them. Yes, keep up, fingers crossed. In regard to that, the other day when I was walking, I noticed there was a lot of paint, on Knox
Street. Yes, so that is getting a new storm system there. One of those dry wells that is going in on 99. We're getting one of those installed to help alleviate the flooding.
Okay, so there isn't going to be any work on that North Knox, that little short site there as far as the sidewalk goes.
The sidewalk itself, no, it'll all be out in the street itself.
Okay. All right. Needed to ask.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions for Public Works? Thank you. Tracy, City Liaison.
I don't have a lot to report. We just sworn in the new council and mayor for another 2 years. We city re-elected Councilor Sean Barwick, and we added 2 new members with Jim Davis and Herman Maldonado. So the face of the council looks very different than it did just a few weeks ago.
Are you the only woman left?
I am. I started this way, so I've come full circle. I was the only lady on the board, and then here we are again, but that's okay. I did mention that we had a change. Brianna mentioned the change. We do have new commissioners on the planning commission, new leadership. We do still have a couple of openings though on the planning commission. So if you know anybody, send them to the city website to apply, as well as a couple member openings on the budget committee. So we need some more bodies. But that's really all I have to report unless y'all have questions for me.
Any questions? Okay. Members report. Deanne, she wasn't able to be with us today, but she did email me something, so I'm going to read it, and I'll send you. I think you got it.
I got the email, yeah.
Okay, my concerns regarding traffic is people driving too fast in school zones. I noticed in the morning on South Burke Parkway and 13th Street, and that is a chronic issue back there by the field. I think she's talking about the school field. We do have a flashing signal light over there already. Also, on 99, can we recommend that they are having earlier notification of left lane closures due to construction?
I agree with that. Because we have so many streets that you're turning off of that you don't really see anything until you're actually on 99, and then it's like, oh, I need to move over, and you only see the flashing light if you go in.
Yeah, I do not know what the answer is.
I will have to reach out to Austin Miller to find out who it was that he was meeting with for their liaison with KNE and ODOT, and try to get roped into those meetings as well, so that I can hopefully be another advocate of.
And I'm not too sure, you know, I like the idea of early notification. I just don't know if she's talking about early notification in the roadway or early notification, whatever. And I don't know.
Well, my experience is just turning on to 99. I mean, like I usually get on at Grant, and then it's like, so you avoid all the potholes in the right lanes, so you're probably gonna move over to the left as soon as you can anyways. But just visually, it's usually about halfway up any given block that they want you to move over. And the only indicator is the actual flashing light to say, move over. But because
by then you're right there. Yeah.
Well, you're right there. And the thing is, if the car in front of you didn't move over, then you don't have any visual to it. Like they need like an actual like orange flag that says lane ends merge or something, or construction merge. And they don't have that at all. The only thing they have are the 3 orange arrows that say move over to the left. And if you don't have clear sight, you're not going to see it until you're right up on it. And even if you don't have clear sight, you're probably, or even if you do, you're probably not going to see it with a whole lot of room. And then it backs into traffic, and then other people can't see what the heck's going on, and it's just this whole cycle of misery.
An additional something.
Just experienced that in coming out of 7-Eleven, and they're sorry about that. They're simply not following basic flagging patterns. They're laying it out way too short. They're not following the distance rules set out for flagging. So that's one problem, is they're not following the standard.
Now, who would you recommend that we send that kind of concerns to?
You can send that over to me, and then I will, like I said, I'll try and reach out to whoever the project manager is with the contractor, as well as with ODOT. I know all of their traffic control plans had to have been signed off on by ODOT's engineers. And so they have to do a drawing and then submit it and get approval before setting it up. And so I will have to dive into that to see how if they had other circumstances for why the engineer, or if they're even following the plan that they drew up. It's one thing to send in a nice, pretty drawing. It's another thing to actually implement it when you're out in the field.
My only thought was for as many side streets we have, because there are just so many streets that lead into 99 that might be part of it, but it still seems like they could just have more warning in places that don't block the roads.
Okay. What do we need to trigger your?
I'm just going to reach out to him right now. So just this conversation is good.
Okay. Yep. I just think all citizens can be somehow, maybe I should probably write a news in the Canby Herald saying, patience is going to be really needed in the next year. If you're going to go drive 99, just be patient. What I mean, okay. Gary.
No, I think I'm pretty well voiced things that were
all right.
on my mind. Obviously, bridge,
and we will work on that. Okay. My turn. I talk a lot. If you could bring up that email that I sent you. I don't know if I sent it to everybody. but I have an email that I sent to, Trees in Camp. Sorry about that. I should have been more conscious about these pictures. I don't know if I get through. I have a series of pictures, and I will send it to you folks. I should have sent it to everybody, probably. There are a number of trees in Canby where the limbs extend far out over the lane of the roadway. And it isn't just that if they're a good tree, which goes up the...
That one looks like it's asking for trouble.
See that kind of tree? That extends almost over the whole roadway. And it's at an angle that creates a lot of weight on the torque, on the intersection of the tree, you know, the limb. And there's a whole bunch of these, you know, and some are huge. Here's a good one. This is, I believe, down by the post office. And I bring these to concern because recently there was 1 or 2 accidents in where tree limbs fell on cars, and not in Canby, but across the state. Limbs fell on cars and killed people. And I'm looking at these trees, and I'm looking at our weather, which has been extremely wet and at times freezing, and create limbs that could fall. I'm looking at things that are preventable. And if one of these things would befall, it would block off a whole lane. That would trigger Public Works, would have to go and respond to these kinds of things. And I'm not asking for any decision today or whatever, but I do think this is a city issue. It isn't Public Works' responsibility to cut these tree limbs down. It's the owner of that tree
Why it hasn't been resolved.
that should be required to cut back those limbs so that they, you know, they're not extending too far over the roadway.
Would we as a city potentially have standing to say that you can't have your tree extend more than X amount into a public road?
I don't know. I looked at the city code, and I didn't see any specific city ordinance that would govern this. But
I think your power companies have more to do with that than anything. If they extend over the lines, they're going to cut them back. Like they've done on the lines of Hard Road, down past Acres. I mean, that's what they're really concerned about. But yes, you're absolutely right. There are a lot of tree limbs that are hanging over that I suspect would break off under another ice storm like they had a couple of years ago.
I just, and I'm not even, the power company does a good job. They go and trim holes in the foliage so that but I'm just saying there are some trees here in Canby where the limb is almost at a 90-degree, and they're huge. They're huge things.
There's one on 13th, almost up to Territorial, that they've only trimmed it just enough that the cars can get under there, but it extends all the way across.
I have a strange feeling that that's a problem. That's a preventable problem. That I want you guys to take a, I'll send you pictures. And this is just noticeably the ones down. I took them, they're noticeably on Holly, going up Holly from the city center all the way up toward Territorial. And then there's a few at the, noticeably at night school. And then the one down by the fire, right across from the post office. But I mean, if you look, there's probably others. I just went and took some pictures about the ones that struck me as being really, really large. Trees are older, big limbs. That was the crack. You're gonna have a problem that roadway's gonna be closed. It could get hurt, somebody could get hurt. And then, you know, poor Public Works has to have an emergency, and we shouldn't have to.
Or you can block emergency vehicles for other things, because if it happened in a snowstorm.
So wouldn't that fall under code enforcement? I mean, we do have rules about their foliage going into walkways and on the sidewalk and stuff.
It's a height
Yeah.
clearance for sidewalks as well as for the road itself.
So not necessarily for the integrity of the tree.
Nope,
Or the distance.
it's strictly just a
So if branch
height
falls,
clearance.
you get to clean it up. Property owner is liable for anybody who got hurt, but at the end of the day, if it falls and nobody's injured or no property damage, it's still on the city to clean up the mess, not the property owner, or?
It varies on the severity of the tree or the limb that comes down. If it is blocking the entire road, then yeah, Public Works will go out and deal with it. If it is something smaller, then sometimes the homeowner does go out and deal with it themselves. It's kind of a hit and miss on whether or not the homeowner goes, because I mean, we had actual trees, big trees fall across the road. By the time we get there, homeowners out there sawing it up and getting it cleaned up. And so it is the homeowner's responsibility, but it's the city's responsibility to maintain the road itself.
Like from an insurance standpoint, like if you have a tree that falls down, like if my neighbor's tree falls down on my house or my car, like in the ice storm last year, you use your own personal insurance to deal with any damage from a tree, even if it's not yours. Because if the damage happens on your property, it's your problem regardless of where it came from. The only recourse would be if they had a badly damaged tree that they knew was falling down and then that caused some damage, then you can fight it. But for the most part, it happens on your property, it's your problem. If it happens on the city property that it falls on, it's going to be kind of like more or less the city's problem.
Okay.
So I'm thinking this, oh, go ahead.
Well, from a policy standpoint, then, if we were to add a code about that, safety of tree, whatever, I don't know how we would go about that.
And
because we don't have arborists anymore.
We do not have a city arborist, and you're dealing with private property.
Right.
And that's where
But is it private property over a city street?
it is still their property, even if it is overhanging. So if they're like, for our standard practices, if there is a safety hazard hanging out over the road, Public Works, like say there's a widowmaker hanging in a tree over a street or over a sidewalk, we will typically go out just for public safety and remove the limb.
Just like the
Where it gets tricky is, okay, say Public Works wanted to go out and make sure that there was no limbs over the street, we go out and we can't cross over onto private property to trim the tree. So then we're just cutting all the limbs at the property line, which then damages the tree, makes it sick and weak, and then that's where you have. And then the city's liable for any of it because so
we don't even
cutting
have,
trees are very touchy for us.
Yeah, that's why I'm staying away from the Public Works having to take this responsibility. I think it's an interesting discussion at a city council meeting that I'll put it on the agenda for next month, that we can, if we want to have a motion or something that says, ask the city council to really look at this whole issue, because I think, you know, I mean, some of these trees are very old and they're very large, and they don't even go upwards, they're outwards.
Yeah.
And that's just a lot of bad weight that they're gonna fall. I mean, and they're over a public roadway.
And that's where it seemed like maybe there
And a sidewalk too.
ordinance that states that, you know, that you can't have a tree encroaching into the street area, that it has to be, you know, cut back.
Like Spencer said, there is a height ordinance already, so
make the ordinance higher, indefinite. It
So
doesn't matter how
therefore,
tall it is.
traffic can flow, it's not impeding anything.
No, it's not.
Until it breaks, and so that's the question, is how far up the road do we go with the
Yeah,
policy
and so,
to keep it from breaking?
To add another
Without
wrench
being
into it,
too, you know, thumbs down on the.
adding another wrench into it is there is a big push for adding trees into urban areas so that we're not deforesting everything.
Right, and then we have citizens that come to city council and get angry with us for trees being removed, even though it's, you know, property is being developed. And so, you know, there's a citizen or two in particular that come to us often and complain that the canopy is going away, and then we don't have, we don't have the canopy, and we're losing the bird song and all this stuff. So
yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, and I'm not recommending cutting the tree down. I'm just saying that, you know, we need to look at some of these huge limbs that are overcroaching roadways, and they are, with climate change and things like, you know, ice storms and things like that, see winds.
Our trees aren't used to the ice and the wind, and so big established trees, as they were growing, didn't get a chance to like shed all the weak plants, and that's why they're all falling now. And I don't want to lose all the really big trees because they haven't been trimmed back preemptively, and then it takes storm, and then it breaks in a way that's going to kill the whole darn tree.
So
like that.
Yeah, I don't know what we could do as a city as far as policy, other than perhaps just you know, I mean, it'd be more work for Rhonda, but letters to, you know, when you notice a tree like that, we could maybe send a letter to the property owner saying, we noticed this danger, we would hope you would address it. I mean, all we could do is encouragement, I think, but I mean, I can certainly, the council does have a goal setting session in February. I can ask Scott, what if anything can we do?
You don't think we could remove the height limit instead of saying that it needs to be clear within like 8 or 10 feet up, that it just has to be clear, period? Because then it's just kind of a tweak to an existing ordinance, and it's not a whole big thing other than just saying it needs to be clear. And then you can just letter write to the most egregious ones, and you don't have to really enforce it except for when it's a potential safety issue.
And then there would be a record that they were warned, so something happens. I don't know. We can discuss it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
I made a note to talk to Scott.
You know that if you want me to come in to
yeah, sure.
If
it gets to that point where you need to present to the council or whatnot, I would definitely let you know about that. But I did make a note to talk to Scott and see where we begin with that.
Yeah, I just always want to do some preventive. Better to do preventive work than to clean it up after.
Sure.
And deal with trouble. Okay, that's my issue. Okay, Jenny?
I don't have anything especially new. I mean, okay. I just have a general overarching concern that as we're doing more development, both of the houses, and then like when we're trying to do more stuff like this brewery downtown, which sounds really cool, having places for people to park. We are not Portland. We can't just put somebody on a train or a bus, and we don't want to be Portland. But what I see is, I see all the things that we're doing, the same shortcoming steps that Portland made. We're going to develop because nobody needs cars. Well, we're going to develop. We need to do that. But if we're not doing it where you can park on both sides of the street, there's extra parking, like if a lot downtown, or we direct people to a nearby school or something, then all of our really narrow streets in the core of town where we're trying to get people to come for business are going to be completely untenable. Like you won't be able to have pedestrians because they're going to get hit. You can't drive anywhere or go to these businesses because you can't park. We're not a walkable enough community that we can just be like, oh, well, take some alternative. It's not really an alternative. So I just get nervous when I see some of this because it's exciting to get new things in and to, hey, let's bring some more people in. We need more housing, but all the people need somewhere to live, and the lower income level the housing's at, the more parking you need, because just a single apartment needs at least 2, probably 3 parking spaces for those people to afford. So yeah.
I sympathize with your concern because that's been something that I feel strongly about, that every apartment building shouldn't be 1 stall per apartment.
You can't afford it. I
mean, because the cost of the apartment, you know there's going to be at least 2 drivers and 2 cars. So I mean,
because not everybody who lives in Canby works in Canby. Very few people actually do.
Well, right, and most housing is double income, so you got 2 people going out to a job.
Yep.
You know, we're not living in an economy where, you know.
Yeah. So
when we build stay-at-home mom is again going away, unfortunately. But
yeah.
When we authorize the building of something, we should make sure there's enough parking on-site parking to avoid the street parking.
Yeah, but our current standards don't do that. It's currently 1 per
I know,
1 bedroom.
We've been fighting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll continue to.
But yeah, those $1,800 1 bedrooms.
Eric. Eric, do you have any? Eric?
Yep. Sorry, just the button. I had my little. Jesus, sorry. No, I have nothing to cover. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other issues to be brought up?
Did Jackie pass anything along?
Jackie didn't pass anything on. If there is nothing else for the good of the order, then I will adjourn the meeting. Our next meeting is February 8th at 8:30. Appreciate everybody's patience and attention. I think we're working hard, folks. At least we keep trying. Thank you.
Nobody would accuse us of others.
Have a good day, folks.
Thanks, Eric. Have a good one.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Brad.